Jennifer Lopez sat at the view table, her posture graceful, but that edge in her eyes sharp enough to cut glass. She'd come to promote her latest project, a big, glossy special about empowering women. But it was clear from the hush in the room that this wasn't going to be the usual polite applause and soft questions. Whoopi Goldberg sat opposite her, arms folded, eyebrow cocked just slightly. The look she gave when she smelled spin coming from a mile away. Sunny Hostin shuffled her cards nervously, trying not to lock eyes with J.Lo. Sarah Haynes leaned in, that fake TV grin a little too wide. Whoopi broke the hush first, her voice calm but already pressing on the bruise. So, Jennifer, you say you're lifting up everyday women. That's the brand, right? But some folks see you out here in your private jets, your million-dollar gowns, and they're asking, how is that real empowerment? The hush cracked, a few awkward laughs, then silence. J.Lo didn't flinch, but her fingers tapped the mug in front of her like she was counting out the seconds before she swung back. She let out a tight laugh. I've worked my whole life to get here, Whoopi, and I'm using that platform to help women see that you don't have to stay stuck where you started. Whoopi's smirk barely shifted. Sure, but does a single mom working 2 jobs see herself when she looks at you stepping off a yacht in Cannes? A ripple of uncomfortable murmurs flickered through the audience. J.Lo's smile stiffened, her jaw flexing just enough for the front row to catch it. Sunny Hostin jumped in, voice light and forced. Jennifer's always been about hard work, though. You can't deny that. She's an icon for Latino women everywhere. J.Lo turned toward Sunny, voice clipped but sweet on the surface. Thank you, Sunny. Some people still remember where I came from. Whoopi didn't flinch. She just leaned forward, elbows on the table, tone low and calm. We all remember. But the question is, do you? The hush snapped tighter. Someone in the back row coughed to fill the silence, but it only made the tension worse. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, the charm slipping just a little. I'm sorry, Whoopi. What exactly are you implying? That I'm fake? That all the good I do doesn't count because I'm successful? Whoopi's smirk turned thin as wire. I'm implying that you've turned struggle into a brand. And when you turn struggle into a brand, you forget about the people still living it. The hush bent so tight you could hear a pin drop. J.Lo's fingers stopped tapping. Her smile vanished completely. Jennifer's breath hitched once, but she smoothed it over with a sharp flick of her hair. Her voice came out like polished ice. You know what's fake, Whoopi? Acting like tearing down a woman who made it out helps anybody who's still stuck. Whoopi didn't blink. Nobody's tearing you down, Jennifer. We're asking why the women you claim to uplift keep seeing you fly over their heads. Sarah Haynes piped in quickly, her tone thin. Maybe we can focus on the new foundation. Jennifer cut her off without even looking at her. No, let's not pretend. Let's be real. You all sit here, day after day, claiming to stand for women. But you pick and choose who's worthy. The moment someone shines too bright, you dim it. The hush cracked at the edges, a single clap from the middle row, then an awkward cough that swallowed it up. Sunny tried to calm the air, her words soft. Jennifer, nobody's saying you haven't worked hard. It's just, J.Lo turned to her, voice rising, hands slicing the air. Don't do that, Sunny. Don't backpedal now. You sit here nodding when they tear down other women, but pretend you're sisterhood when it's me. Sunny's eyes dropped to her cards, lips pressed tight. Whoopi leaned back, her arms crossed like a drawbridge slamming shut. So you're a victim now? Jennifer's laugh was raw. Victim? No, Whoopi. I'm a reminder that you don't get to keep your little club exclusive. That real women out there don't care about your fake outrage. A few gasps near the front. Sarah's hand hovered by her coffee cup like she might knock it over just to change the subject. Whoopi's tone dropped flat. Dangerous. What's fake, Jennifer, is pretending you're still Jenny from the block when you haven't seen the block in decades. The hush split wide. Jennifer's jaw clenched, her eyes locked on Whoopi like a flame that just found its air. Say that again. Whoopi leaned in, her voice low, each word landing like a hammer. I said, you're not Jenny from the block anymore. You're Jenny from the brand. A ripple of oaths rolled through the audience, a few people shifting like they wanted to look away but couldn't. Jennifer stood halfway, hands braced on the table. Her voice trembled with rage. You know what? You're all the same. Smile in my face, cash the ratings, then trash me behind my back. Who's fake now? Whoopi didn't move an inch. Sit down or walk out. Either way, the truth stays here. And the hush bent so tight the air felt like glass. Jennifer stayed half standing, her hands flat on the table like she might launch herself right over it. Her eyes flicked to the audience, rows of faces that once cheered her, now holding their breath like they weren't sure who to side with. She jabbed a finger toward Whoopi. You know what the problem is? Women like you built your whole brand off tearing other women down when they get too big to control. Whoopi's eyebrow twitched up just enough to sting. Control? Honey, nobody here can control you. You're too busy controlling your own story so nobody else can question it. Sunny tried to cut in, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe we can bring this back. Jennifer snapped her head toward Sunny, her tone like a slap. No, Sunny. You sit there all day acting like you're about women's empowerment, but you only empower the women you agree with. Sunny's eyes dropped to her notes again. The hush quivered. A few people near the front row clapped, half sympathy, half awkward, but it made Jennifer straighten up taller. She turned back to Whoopi. You think you're the truth police? You're just a bully with a microphone. Whoopi leaned forward, her arms still folded. Her voice didn't rise. It dropped, cold enough to sting the whole table. You want to talk about bullies, Jennifer? Try being the girl in the Bronx who didn't have a stage, who had to listen first. A single rolled through the audience, but they stayed quiet, waiting to see if J.Lo would sit back down or swing harder. Jennifer's laugh came out sharp, raw, no charm left to polish it. You're not that girl anymore, Whoopi. You're the same machine you claim to hate, getting paid to tear people up because it keeps you relevant. Whoopi just shook her head, a smirk that didn't touch her eyes. Better to be relevant for the truth than to sell the same old fairy tale to people who can't afford it. Sarah piped up, desperate. Can we maybe? But Jennifer cut her off with a glare. Don't bother, Sarah. You're not saying anything that matters anyway. Sarah flinched, her smile falling flat as she shrank back into her chair. The hush thickened, everyone watching the line they all knew was about to snap. Jennifer planted her hands on the table one more time, her voice trembling with fury. You want the truth? Here's the truth. This whole table, you, all of you, you're fake. You're paid to be outraged. You're paid to pick apart the same women you claim to lift up. Whoopi's voice dropped to a hush that felt like a blade. Then why are you here, Jennifer? Jennifer's eyes burned, her jaw tight enough to crack. Good question. She pushed her chair back so hard it scraped the floor, the sound sharp enough to make the audience gasp. Jennifer's chair hit the backdrop with a dull thud as she stood tall, her breath coming fast. She scanned the room, the camera guys frozen, the front row wide-eyed. She threw her arms out like she was on stage at an arena, but her voice was raw, shaking. You think this is about me? You think I care what you say about my jet or my dress or who I married? I built this from nothing. You think your cheap shots change that? Whoopi sat there, elbows on the table, steady as stone. You're the one yelling. I'm not the one who forgot how to listen. Jennifer pointed at her, voice cracking with every word. You're a hypocrite, Whoopi. All of you are. You preach empowerment, but you love a fall more than you love a rise. A few people in the audience clapped, not loud, not bold, but enough to make the hush quiver. Sunny looked like she might say something, but she swallowed the words and stayed silent. Sarah's eyes flicked to the floor, one hand covering her mouth, like she couldn't bear to breathe. Whoopi leaned forward, her words slow and soft enough to twist the knife. You don't have to stay, Jennifer. Nobody's keeping you here. Jennifer's laugh turned bitter, echoing off the walls. Oh, I know. Because the second I'm gone, you'll spend the next week picking at me like vultures. That's how this show works. And everybody here knows it. The hush cracked into a low buzz, people shifting in their seats, eyes darting between the two women like they were waiting for someone to throw a punch. Jennifer grabbed her coat off the back of the chair, her voice a raw whisper now, almost to herself, but caught on every mic. I used to think this place was for women like me. But it's not. It's for people like you, comfortable, safe, and fake. Whoopi tilted her head. that cold smirk flickering just once. Say it louder for the cameras. They love that. Jennifer whipped around, eyes blazing. Trust me, Whoopi. They heard me. She spun on her heel, the hush breaking into gasps as her heels clipped hard across the stage floor, every step pounding like a drumbeat under the cheap studio lights. A couple people clapped, one cheer cut short when they realized nobody else was brave enough to join them. Whoopi didn't turn. She just watched Jennifer's back, arms still folded, that steady hush settling into the cracks like dust after a storm. Jennifer reached the edge of the stage, her coat half slipping off her shoulder, eyes burning into the audience that once screamed her name at sold-out shows. Now they just sat frozen, some mouths open, some hands clutched around the cheap paper coffee cups that felt suddenly out of place. She turned back, just once, her voice loud enough to land in every mic. You think you're better than me? You're not. You're all so busy pretending to stand for women while you tear them down the second they step out of your little box. Whoopi didn't flinch. Her arms stayed folded, her tone flat and final. Better to stand for something than sell it. Jennifer barked out a short, sharp laugh. Stand for something? Whoopi, you stand for your paycheck and your ratings. Don't pretend you're a saint just because you sit in that chair. Someone in the back tried to clap, but it died off when the hush swallowed it whole. Sarah looked ready to cry. Sunny stared straight ahead, face blank, hands clenched in her lap, like she was praying it would all be over. Jennifer pulled her coat around her shoulders, her voice dropping into a raw whisper that the cameras still caught. You're not queens of truth. You're puppets. And every woman who watches this knows it now. She didn't wait for a reply. Her heels clipped the floor one last time. Sharp, final, each step punctuated by the hush that felt like it might never break. Whoopi leaned back, exhaled slow, her eyes tracking Jennifer all the way out the side curtain. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. A few audience members clapped, nervous, awkward, like they weren't sure whose side they'd just chosen. Others just sat there, jaws clenched, eyes darting between the empty chair and the old lioness still guarding it. Sarah cleared her throat, her voice paper thin. We'll be right back. But the hush stayed. It sat heavy in the room, the kind that makes you wonder what's real and what's just a good face for the cameras. In the weeks that followed, clips of Jennifer storming off played on every tabloid feed and morning show. People argued in comment sections about who was right and who was a fraud. But that empty chair, still warm under the lights, said more than any headline ever could. Because sometimes the crown cracks under the weight of its own story, and sometimes the hush is the only thing left to tell the truth.